Welcome, everyone. My name is Lisa Damon. I'm here from Massachusetts Farm to School. I'm one of the co-directors, and we're excited to partner with Project Bread and Brookline Public Schools to put on a farm to breakfast cooking demo today. So I'm just going to pass it over to them to really kick it off. But we have a great team put together, again, partnering with Project Bread and Brookline Public Schools to really talk about farm to breakfast and celebrate some of the great and really demonstrate some great examples of what you can do with local food and local produce in the breakfast setting. So with that said, I'll pass it over to you, Sam, and your team there to get us started.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Thanks so much. And thanks everybody for joining us today. My name's Sam Eichlin. I'm the Director of Community Nutrition Services at Project Bread. I'm here with my colleague Ryan Eccles, who's a chef educator with Project Bread. And then of course, our friend Angel Gonzalez, who's the chef manager at Brookline High School at the Tappan Street campus. And we're in this beautiful brand new kitchen. Sasha Palmer, the school nutrition director for Brookline Public Schools, has of course had a big hand in this. I know she's on the call right now, but she invited us in and hosted us here for this demo today. So we're just really thrilled at that partnership. We love working with Brookline. We love working with Sasha and her team and Angel. And then we're doing things a little bit differently. I know I saw some familiar names on the participants list. So this is a little different today. You'll see that we've got, well, you can't see them, but that's there. We have the Brookline Interactive Group here filming us. So we've got a pretty high-tech operation going today, which we're quite excited about. And we're happy to bring you a couple of recipes for two different breakfast dishes that are written intentionally to be really adaptable, to be what I like to call evergreen, meaning that you can adjust them based on what you can get seasonally, what's seasonally available, what's locally available at any given time, maybe what's being grown in your school gardens. So there's a lot of creativity built into these recipes, which we'll talk about as we get into them. So I don't want to belabor that point too much. I'm going to turn over to Ryan and Angel, and they're going to do the first dish for us. So
yes, indeed.
Go for it, please.
Yeah. So today we're going to start with a torta, or a frittata, depending on how you want to describe it. This one is inspired by my man Angel here. So a torta is just sort of like a crustless quiche. It's usually typically a baked egg dish. In the schools, you can do a version of this by using your steamers, but today we're just going to be doing it with a little bit of the help of the stovetop and then finishing it in the oven. So today, before we get started, let's just talk about this recipe in particular, because I know this was your little inspiration and idea. So what about this got you thinking about tortas in particular?
So for me, breakfast is one of my favorite course of the day. Like, I love eating breakfast with my family, and especially here in school. It inspired me to do a frittata dish, which is a very versatile dish to do. You can use multiple ingredients. Like, for example, I'm using today fresh red peppers, onions, some garlic, callaloo, which is a mix of greens that is consumed in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica. And we have here tater tots. We have seasoning like Cajun, cayenne pepper, salt, pepper, and other spices. So we don't start to do our
absolutely
demo.
Well, first I want to talk about this, because this is a little bit of a star for this, because I've never seen this before or heard of it. Callaloo. I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. So this was a great new ingredient to incorporate into this, and it is from the Caribbean, and Sasha was the one who brought it up, and thank you, Sasha, for introducing it. It is very similar to spinach. It's a little bit stronger in flavor and heartier, but it is super packed with a ton of nutrients and a ton of vitamins. So it's a great, super green, similar to something like kale, spinach itself as well, Swiss chard. All of those are kind of like good substitutes if it's something that you can't necessarily find around. So right now we're going to get started with the first part, which is sauteing our peppers and onions. And while Angel's doing that, like he said, the ingredients that we're using today are just a baseline. So that is the stuff that we have in the kitchen today. But if we're coming off of summertime, or we're looking at different ingredients that I see coming into the kitchen. You could be using your mushrooms, your zucchini, any of the squashes that are coming in. All those would be great substitutions to work into a dish like this, which is why it's so versatile. And today, one of the main things that we like to harp on is using fresh herbs. So one of that Angel really loves is marjoram. So we're using marjoram today, which is a nice hearty, very pungent herb in and of itself. So, using something else like oregano, thyme, rosemary, those would all be great hearty herbs as alternatives to use in this recipe. So it's a lot about, what you have, what you can get, and what's coming in. Kind of like what Sam said, this whole evergreen, it works with what you have around. So while he's sauteing that up, he just got a quick sear on the peppers and onions, get them a little translucent. And then we're going to be adding in our greens that we have here. He added in a little bit of the callaloo and also some of our mixed greens, which is some spinach and some baby kale. We're making this one in the pan vegetarian. We also made some with some ham. And of course, if you're avoiding the pork products, you could be using chicken or turkey or turkey sausage, things like that are great substitutes as well. For this particular pan version, we're just going to be keeping it vegetarian. So after this callaloo is in, we're incorporating some type of potato element, whether it be sweet potatoes or regular potatoes. That's up to you as well. We're actually kind of twisting it today up, and we had some tater tots in the freezer. So Angel was like, yes, let's definitely use that. We can use them for a little bit of the extra crunch on the base. So once that is sauteed away in the pan, we're going to put down a base of our potatoes over here. And Angel's going to slide just a little bit. There we go. So we put a base of potatoes down, and then we're just going to kind of smash them to kind of get a nice flat area in the bottom. And once that is all done and looking good, we're going to go back to the pan. We're going to grab all this stuff that's cooking. All right. Go. So all the stuff in the pan is going in, and we're just going to spread that out on a flat layer. And from here, there's some other things that we can keep in mind. Like today, we're using an egg, scrambled egg mixture. We added a little bit of milk in there. If you wanted to keep it dairy-free, you don't have to add that milk. You could add a little bit of water to thin it out. We're also going to add a little bit of queso to this. So we've got some shredded cheddar cheese here. We're just going to put a layer down now before we pour the egg in.
What do you want? Eggs? Oh,
Sorry, we're live.
Yeah, I know, it is live. Our eggs ran away on us.
I'm here for you.
So
Thank you,
as I
Sam.
was mentioning, that this is a recipe that we can like do it in different like varieties. Like we can, if we want to add some protein, we can add some ham, we got some turkey, bacon. If we have sausage at home, we can add some sausage. Why not? Goat cheese, cheddar cheese, mozzarella cheese. You can do it like healthy, like egg whites. Like now we are like more like healthy conscious.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we
Using
can add
more
some
fat
egg
oils.
white. So right now I'm just gonna add the egg mixture. Just pour it on the pan. We're just gonna bake this frittata for about 20 minutes on the oven. And
What temperature?
at 350.
Pop this in.
And while that is going,
We actually have some TV magic going on. So we did a couple different versions. So Angel, can we make a little room on the cutting board for this?
well,
Awesome. So we did a couple different versions. We did one in the hotel pan, but we also did some in some muffin pans, just because we wanted to show sort of the versatility of how you can plate these up. And so these are just a couple different examples of sort of like the shapes and the ways that you can plate them up with something a little bit nice. And Angel actually showed me this sort of salad nest here. Angel, can you tell me a little more of this? Because I think it's beautiful and it's a great way
we
to.
have just simple ingredients that we use in our schools and also in our house. So we have some spring mix, cucumbers, onions, carrots, and cherry tomatoes. Basic ingredient that we can farm. We can get, like we're doing a farm to school, so we can get them through our suppliers or find it in your favorite grocery stores, and just make a ribbon of the cucumber, and you can make a bouquet out of that the salad and present it like nice for your loved ones or for the students. Like we can be a little more creative, make the students excited to have breakfast at school.
No, exactly.
So these are like an example of a ribbon that I just slice it on the mandolin, and just I would make one just for presentation. You can just roll it with the cucumber. You get a nice bouquet that you can either use it for a side salad, for a sandwich, or for a breakfast. And this is the end result. You get a nice, beautiful bouquet that is colorful, and it's something simple that you can try on your school menus.
And I also want to point out one more thing too that might get overlooked because sometimes it often does. But this salsa that we have right down here, we made this in-house, and this is a super simple recipe that can be done when you're getting some fresh peppers in, some hot peppers in particular. This one that we made was with a couple Serranos and a couple Anaheims, but I know that when we're in the schools, we're getting, jalapenos and things like that. This was a very simple recipe of just roasting the jalapenos whole with a little bit of oil until they're getting charred on the outside. And then you're gonna blend them with some sauteed onions and garlic and a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of lime juice, and some tomato puree. And we've got this nice salsa that we made in-house in less than 45 minutes, start to finish. And it's a great little condiment to be using with the frittata or the torta recipe, and also the recipe that's coming up right now, which Sam is going to be doing, which is a grains and greens bowl. Another example of just how great versatility wise, recipes like this can be when you're in the schools and working with the ingredients that you have on hand. So yeah.
And just for a quick note,
Oh yes, absolutely.
Just for a quick note for our audience. So if you want to know how to get your jalapeno, there are like most spicy ones. Look, the ones that have the stem bent. Sorry.
The curlier,
the
the
curly
spicier.
stem means that it's more spicy. So those folks who like to have their jalapeno that are very spicy, like that is something that is good to know and to look at it when you're getting your jalapenos.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was news to me, so I love that little tidbit. But yeah, so I think we're going to move into the next recipe. I'm just going to
Okay.
move some of the stuff out of the way.
Sure. Yeah. Will you clear out? I'll intro the next recipe. Thank you. These look amazing. And I also didn't know that about the jalapenos. I mean, all this time I've just been like going to the grocery store and like taking bites out of the peppers to find out. And apparently not supposed to do that. They're laughing. Brian's laughing. So the next dish that we're going to do is a grains and greens breakfast bowl. Again, one that's super versatile. The way that this recipe is written, it combines brown rice and quinoa, and it's about a 3/4 brown rice to a quarter of quinoa ratio. So for today, we used red quinoa, which for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's known as an ancient grain. It's originated in Chile and Bolivia, and it's packs a lot of protein. It's very, very hearty, and it's a great thing to incorporate into your dishes if you're able to get it. If not, you can just change the ratio and use all rice for that matter. But it adds a different flavor, a little bit of complexity to the flavor profile that you're getting, a little bit more protein than just plain rice. And it also looks really nice when it's all mixed together. It adds a little bit of color. So we have quinoa happening in the dish. We've also got, I think I'll just start handing you ingredients. What do you think? We'll start pulling them together? Okay, great.
And
So
just to add on, to what Sam was saying, besides quinoa or rice, we can do barley, we can do
yes,
farro, we can do any like earthy grain that is good for us.
Yeah.
And it will be a good added to our diet during breakfast. This is a dish that we can use also for brunch. Like,
that's right.
let's say you woke up at 11 o'clock and you want to have like a light breakfast for lunch. you can have this bowl, green bowl. Why not?
Absolutely. And it's nice. It's nice and savory. I think one thing that we really tried to do with these dishes was to move away from um, being overly reliant on breakfast pastries or sweet options, just because we see those are all over the place. There's no limit to the options available for sweet breakfast breakfast recipes. So we thought we'd do something that was more savory, something that would really stick with you for the rest of the day. One thing, so this recipe also incorporates some callaloo. As Ryan had talked about earlier, you can also substitute spinach or kale. Collard greens would work nicely, just to have some options. Right now, you may be wondering, callaloo in its natural form original form doesn't come in a can. This is an option that you can use if it's not available seasonally, which right now we're in the middle of March. We had a snowstorm yesterday, so we're not in leafy green season yet, but we will get there. And when that is the case, then callaloo is available locally, along with some of those other hardy greens that I mentioned. So it's also an ingredient you can purchase frozen. So if you're going to use it from a frozen product, you would just want to thaw it, make sure you got any of that extra moisture out before you used it. And so this dish we're building with rice and quinoa as the base. We're adding in some beans. These are just black beans that Angel worked his magic on. But you can just use black beans directly from the can too as well. Some greens, like we said, callaloo. We have some seasoning blend, garlic, and we're throwing in some tomatoes. And then this is all going to be topped off with some, we're going to do scrambled eggs today. We chose eggs as well, fluid eggs, because they're very versatile in terms of how you can prepare them. You can scramble them. You could bake them if you need to. You could put them in the steamer if you need to. You can also choose to start from whole eggs and hard boil them, peel them, cut them in half lengthwise, and you also have a nice looking dish too. So take it away, throw these things together.
Yeah. If you like your egg like easy, sunny side up, why not to like accompany this great bowl with a sunny side up egg? I love sunny side up eggs.
Absolutely.
So we're starting here to heat up our pan. So we have some.
Yeah.
For
Perfect. Perfect. Did we neglect to mince garlic for this? Better get some garlic going. Hey, you want to do it? All right, Angel's gonna do it. All right, love it. So what you want to be? There you go.
Just some garlic. And you can use like around like 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, enough to get that nice aroma of the garlic. I love garlic. Like one of my favorite spices to cook is garlic. I really love garlic.
Yeah. Well, I think in this instance, like, yeah, you can definitely go pretty hard on the garlic if you want to. And actually, one of my favorite local ingredients that starts to come out like right around early spring is like that first bit of garlic that comes out, that like fresh local garlic. It's such an exciting. I get really excited about it, but my block again. Can you see Angel? Okay, there we go.
So I'm adding my garlic and my fresh greens. Just gonna saute for a little bit. After they are like that, like bright, nice green, I'm gonna add my callaloo. Saute together, like make them like big friends in the saute pan.
Yoga class in the gym.
And if you were going to do this on a larger scale, you could use the tilt skillet. You could use a big rondo. We're happening, because we're doing a sample size, demo size. We're going to do a smaller amount and use the saute pan, but certainly use a tilt skillet if you have it, or a big rondo pan would also work.
We season our greens with some salt, pepper. I have here Cajun seasoning and cumin. Give a nice fresh aroma to the dish. I love cumin.
Yeah. I love cumin. It's got that nice warm aroma to it. It's like, really, really beautiful.
I really love cumin.
Yeah.
in my my wife is Mexican, so in Mexico they use cumin
Yeah.
in their recipes, and every time we cook at home and we use some cumin, like the aroma, oh, it's amazing
So
at the
good.
house.
So good. See, so this is like home cooking for you too, in a way.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. So we are our rice. So we have like kind of like around 1 pound of rice. We're gonna add it to our saute pan, and half a pound of quinoa. Give them a quick mix. You can see now how the color, the contrast of color. You see green, you see the red of the quinoa, you see the brown rice. It's just a beautiful color contrast. We will add now our beans, which will add to our dish a nice protein value to our dish and a nice flavor.
I know that beans are something that can sometimes be a hard sell for kids depending on the age group that you're working with. So, you know, like I said, these recipes are meant to be adaptable to what you're doing in your own programs. So maybe beans might not be where you want to start. Maybe it's something that you really do want to add. I think it adds a beautiful, like Angel said, like a nice protein element to it as well. I also personally love the flavor of them. I think it can add a bit of a creaminess, if you know. So I think they're great, but also feel free to you know, incorporate elements that you know are hits for your kids and the folks that you're feeding in your, you know, if you're going to run these over the summer, you know, maybe your summer meal program too. So perfect. You want to? We got eggs. Should I talk about salsa? You want to do eggs? What should we do?
You can talk about the salsa.
Do salsa? Okay. All right. Perfect. So so Angel's going to cook up the scrambled eggs for us for our dish right now. So I'll take that opportunity to talk about the roasted corn salsa, which is a nice option to use for a really simple addition to this dish, or to honestly to any type of dish that you really want to add a nice fresh pop of corn and salsa. You know, it could be a taco dish, it could be anything, you know, with a sort of Tex-Mex leaning, whatever, you know, feels great for you. This could be great for a fish taco for that matter. But at any rate, we used some roasted corn, and this we just lightly tossed in some oil, put it on a sheet pan, roasted it at 425 for about 15 minutes. We got a nice color on there. This was frozen. Is that correct, Chef Ryan? Frozen corn? So you can use frozen corn if you're able to get fresh corn in season when that season comes around. That's a great opportunity to incorporate some fresh corn into your dish. Usually, as we know, fresh corn hits right around middle of July. You may not have kids in school at that point. If that's the case, and you can still purchase it locally, it's really simple to process. If you've got some folks in your summer programs working, or you want to bring on a team for a week to process some local ingredients, by all means. But you basically shuck the corn, take it off the cob, lay it on a sheet pan, and pop that in the freezer. Let that freeze up, and then you can put it in a bag, and it'll stay for, you know, you'll have it ready for when you want to make some fresh corn salsa in the middle of the winter. And it's very simple. It's roasted corn, and it is some prepared salsa from your standard. You can use what you get through USDA Foods. You could also make, we have a recipe for pico de gallo, which we sent out, that incorporates fresh tomatoes with, it's basically half and half. It's 50% fresh tomatoes, 50% canned tomatoes. So you can kind of figure out what works best for you. But for today, we're using prepared salsa, and that's all it is. We're just adding it to the roasted corn. We're going to mix it up. Thank you, Angel. We're just going to mix it up, and then we've got a beautiful new approach to pretty standard ingredients. And I know we're talking about local and farm to school, and there's many ways to incorporate all of those nice local things into your recipe. That being said, if it's the middle of the winter and you have USDA corn and you have USDA salsa or tomatoes, you can use those too, and you can still add a nice in-house prepared element to what you're serving your kids. And of course, as with all of this, in any recipes that we talk about, you don't need to incorporate everything all at once. You can start small. You could start by making salsa. You could start by making this hot sauce that Chef Ryan was talking about, which is really pretty special. Like I think this would be such a cool thing. If you're preparing this for your lunch program, tie that into your breakfast program. There's, if you've got something cool that you're doing at lunch, a nice option that might have a second life in your breakfast program, go for it, because that's really where, you start to capitalize on the time that you have to prep those ingredients. So if you know that you want to offer the kids some fresh salsa or some fresh hot sauce, or we even have our classic pickled red onions around here somewhere that we'll show you, but those are all things that can work in a variety of different settings and are really nice to have on hand if you want to add a little bit of extra flavor, a little bit of extra freshness, or even just really trying to grab onto a little bit of a home cooked element, just to start moving the needle in that direction. These are all great options to do that. So now that I said all of that, what happened? What did we do? It looks beautiful.
I have here my mixer for grains that we can start plating up.
Okay, let's see it.
Nice presentation
I'd
for
love to see it. I'd
the
love to see it.
audience.
I'd love to see it.
So,
Angel's got the nice eye when it comes to plating stuff.
we can start putting in the middle our grain. That
Yeah.
amount should be enough for our students,
Yeah.
and it will give them the right amount of nutrients they need for start their day, and not only the student, our loved ones in home, and some scrambled eggs on the side
Yeah.
that they can like mix to it.
Yeah. That looks beautiful. I love that the greens are still nice and bright. They're bright green. They're like really holding on to that lovely color. And then I think they're only going to look better.
And then
Yeah.
just for make it beautiful, yeah, some pickled red onions for a green bowl.
Yeah. And these are super easy. These pickled red onions are just like, we talk about these a lot. I know we have some new folks on the call too who haven't heard us talk about pickled red onions yet, but they're great because you're just chopping up onions and then adding them to a hot, quick pickle brine of vinegar, water, sugar, a little bit of salt. And 20 minutes later, they turn bright pink and they look like this. That looks absolutely delicious. Should we put a little hot sauce maybe on the eggs?
Sure.
Why not? See if we can make it look. Oh yeah, that looks like a great breakfast. And it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, it's very versatile. I know Ryan had mentioned dietary restrictions about the torta. This is another great example of that as well.
And also it's vegetarian.
And it is vegetarian, exactly. Yes, exactly. So
We can do it vegan. We have tofu in our fridge. We can do a tofu scramble just to give a little twist and make it like more that we are like being vegan is kind of like a new mode
for
that
sure.
we are.
Yeah.
So something is a good option to work with it and have fun with it. I think like I look food, and for me, food is all about having fun.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I think,
I love having fun cooking.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I think you're right. I mean, the plant, like, it's got to be fun. It's you put your heart into it, and it looks wonderful. It tastes great, and it's healthy for the kids. And like I said, there's a lot of different elements to this that you can adapt to meet the needs of your specific programs. And you don't have to do all of it at once. You take a piece, whatever piece seems doable, seems like it might be a hit with your kids, and start with that. And then get that positive reinforcement from them, trying something out. And then of course, like sampling breakfast items is tricky because you don't have a lot of time with them at breakfast. Oftentimes maybe they're eating breakfast in their classrooms or sort of scattered about. They're grabbing from a kiosk or something like that. But you can definitely run this. This would be a beautiful lunch as well. Or you can run it as a sample at lunchtime and try and get some feedback from the kids about would they be interested in this for breakfast? And really thinking about, could you start like running something like this once a month, like, or where really are the stepping off points that you can find. And I think like, you know, it's a great dish right here. And I love the torta. I love that, you know, you have your approach to it, your plating. It looks very beautiful. And we really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
it's
you,
been so fun. So those are our cooking demos. Did I miss anything, Ryan, that I was
No,
supposed
you
to
did not.
share?
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
that was
Yeah.
good. I mean, I think the versatility, right? I mean, like the main thing that we're trying to show are recipes that are incredibly adaptable. It's really we're showing you a process and not a recipe, because the ingredients themselves are really up to you and what you guys can bring into the schools and what you have on hand. So hopefully we were able to inspire you a little bit. I can tell you firsthand, I wish you were here because I'm not a huge fan of grains and greens bowls in general, but that is delicious. So it has my stamp of approval. Oh, yes, absolutely. This one. I am referring to this. Delicious things. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Angel. I was taking away from, yes, the full Monty. This is delicious. So hopefully you guys can take some of this and work it into some of the recipes for the kids. In the coming time. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah. And I think we have time for Q&A. I know Lisa had
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
maybe some questions. I don't know if any questions came through or if we just want to open it up and get any feedback or hear if anything kind of jumped out at you all. Let Lisa run with that.
Yeah, I'll open it up now. There were a couple comments in the chat, mainly around the excitement and how delicious everything looked. Sasha from Brookline is excited to maybe dive in and find out if there's any local growers that grow callaloo, or can we get someone growing some callaloo in Massachusetts, either in a school garden or on a farm, to try to be able to source it locally. So I said Mass Farm to School can do a little research and try to figure that out. Or if anyone on the call knows, take yourself off mute or pop it in the chat. We'd love to hear.
I did get callaloo. I don't know if it was this past summer or the summer before through my CSA, but I live out in Western Mass in Franklin County, so I can't speak specifically to what's out here around Greater Boston. I imagine there might be someone on the call who does know that, but I was really pleasantly surprised to see that come through, and I definitely made sure that the farmers knew that I was excited about that option, because it was new to the CSA that year, and I thought it was really cool to see it. So I don't know if any folks on here know about something closer to Greater Boston, or have ideas about getting folks to grow it.
Okay, yes, I'm Jeannie Baronic from UMass Extension, and I haven't looked in since COVID, but pre-COVID, it was available in the Lynn Farmers Market and was being grown locally by even a number of the gardeners. So the seed is available and it flourishes here in Eastern Mass.
Cool.
And I haven't looked in the Johnny Seed catalog, so to see if it's listed there.
If it is in the seed catalog, I mean, that might be a really great thing to encourage kids in their gardens. If you've got a school garden program, or maybe there are some school garden educators on this call who might want to add that to their garden beds in the coming year. And while I'm thinking about school gardens, if there are folks on here who are school garden educators, I'm sure you've already thought of this, but I do think it's worth pointing out. If there's something that you want to grow or something that you want to share with the cafeteria staff, asking, meeting up with them, meeting with the school nutrition directors, having that communication where you can talk to them and see what would be useful for them to grow, what maybe recipe they might have in mind that you could work on together, and incorporate some of the produce that kids are producing in the gardens. But just having that two-way communication with the school nutrition department, and finding out like what their hopes and dreams are, and maybe it really is an opportunity to say like, oh, let's try and grow some callaloo. Let's see what the kids think, for example.
Sam, do you have any other tips around you talked a little bit about sampling new recipes, and I'm just wondering if you have any other tips you want to share about sampling, introducing this new item, especially in current climate of school cafeterias, how to make that work and be successful is introducing a new dish or simply a new food that may not be as, may not be as well known as other foods with your school students.
Yeah, it's a great question. Ryan, did you hear? I don't know if you want to.
Sampling?
Yeah.
Oh,
Any ideas around sampling or like introducing unfamiliar items to kids or?
yeah, I mean, I think knowing your audience is obviously one of the most helpful things. For us, or at least for me, I've noticed that, the age does have a lot to do with it. So, the younger kids eat with their eyes and their nose first. So you have to keep that in mind, particularly with things like vegetables and stuff, if you want to like hide things a little bit more than with the older kids. But with sampling and taste testing, I think your attitude is what sets the tone for the kids. If you are really excited about sharing something with the kids, you have a very good chance of at least engaging them in a conversation where they can decide whether or not they want to try it. And that's an important thing, is getting them to at least decide like, yes, I do want to try it, or no, I'm okay. You want to engage them to get them in and try it. Be persistent as well. I mean, Sam has a great story of persistence, but I think another thing is get creative with the way that you're marketing or upselling the items as well. I remember there's a dish that's very popular with the high school kids called a spicy chicken flatbread that I was running in an elementary school or elementary middle. And, when I did the taste test, the kids didn't try it because it was titled spicy chicken flatbread and they didn't want to eat something spicy. It didn't refer to heat. It referred to, it used a lot of different spices within that spicy chicken. So it's basically like a chicken cheese pizza. So I just changed the title to cheesy chicken flatbread. It didn't change anything else, just changed the title. And the kids were eating it up the next week, just simply by changing, the marketing of that particular dish to who I was trying to get it to eat it. So, those are just some of probably my tips and tricks. But I mean, persistence. Your persistence with taste tests is legendary, everyone. So,
Ryan's talking about my friend at an elementary school in Turners Falls who walked by me every single Thursday for 4 months in a row and refused my sample over and over and over again. No, Chef Sam, no. He was probably 5. And then on my very last day, he came over and I was like, what do you think? You gonna try it today? He was like, I'll try it today. So just, I had to, took a long time, but he got it eventually. I don't know, you offer new stuff to kids all the time. What do you?
I think in what Ryan said, it just embrace the students to like be more like curious to try new things, and marketing like that, the way you present it, like the way also like you sell it to them, like say, oh, this is something healthy, something that will like give you more energy during the day, will help you to stay focused on class. So yeah, those are the things that we can also use for offer our food and kind of like get them interested.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's great. And then I think in terms of the current climate in the schools right now, my experience has been that it's much easier right now than it was a year ago to offer samples to kids. And you can do it in a variety of ways. You can, if you have the capacity, having someone in the lunchroom, of course, is great. Having someone out in the cafeteria with a table, make a whole thing of it if you can. Get a tablecloth, get a sign, make an announcement over the morning announcements, put it on social media, like really talk it up so that the kids know what to expect. And I can also promise you can do all of that and they will walk up to your table.
Yeah, do a chef
like,
table.
they have no idea what's going on. Yeah, exactly. But regardless, it's if you have the capacity to do that, if you have staff that are interested in that and you can spare them. I know everybody is running pretty short staffed right now. That's a great option. Of course, even just having something set up on the lunch line as an additional item as they're going through next to the fruit or next to the main entree, and just having someone, I think, Angel said it really well, just getting kids excited, getting them curious about what you're serving. I think the greatest proponents that I've seen selling the food, of course, are our wonderful cafeteria staff that we get to work with. Our people who are just engaged, want the kids to try the dish, want the kids to branch out a little bit, move beyond maybe just getting that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Which no shame to peanut butter and jelly, but like, but getting them engaged in that way. So yeah, I think, and certainly I know that there's, like I've mentioned, there's garden educators and folks on the call as well. But getting creative about who you bring in to help with the samples as well, if your cafeteria staff are already pretty much maxed out. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And there's been some great additions to the chat about Callaloo and where to find it. So thanks, Jeannie. I appreciate your input to that. And I was able to share all the links to the PDFs. I hope folks can access those in the chat. Again, like I said, I'll share them in an email afterwards. So don't worry about clicking them all open right now in your browser if you don't have time. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Also a lot of praise for the three of you and the work that you're doing and the passion that you bring to it. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to work with Mass Farm to School and with you, Lisa, and your team, and everybody on the call as well. I know there were some familiar names, some new names. So for folks we've yet to meet, it's great to be with you, for the first time, and just get to be a little part of your day. It means a lot to us. So thanks a lot for being with us.